The Old School Rewind Podcast. The podcast about breakdance music.
So why is it got to be so damn tough?
Hip-hop and old school. The roots of electronic music. The Roland 808. And freestyle. This is the Old School Rewind with Randy Bubba Black on the Podcaster Online Network, Facebook.com. Search Old School Rewind and subscribe now at iTunes with all links at oldschoolrewind.com.
Today on the Rewind, NU SHOOZ.
You say a one for the trouble, two for the time. Come on, y'all, let's break this.
Hello there once again, Aaron Goodwin here, the Podcast Farm, 35 acres and a microphone. Weekly, I bring to you the golden age of dance and hip-hop, from the folks that were there, from old school to dance to freestyle. We're the podcast that's been in the top 5 downloads on iTunes Music Podcast Chart for the past 2 weeks. Subscribe now across all platforms. Make sure you get us every Friday on the Podcaster Online Network at oldschoolrewind.com, iTunes, iHeart, Stitcher, Google us. Get all the links to the show. I'm a former radio DJ with an affinity for the golden age of dance and hip-hop, which encompasses numerous niche genres of its time and made up the early days of rhythm radio. And this week, look over there. Just that old school R&B dance crew, Grammy-nominated NU SHOOZ. Valerie and John from NU SHOOZ are with me today on the Old School Rewind Podcast. Let's turn this thing up. Let's turn it up.
I'll have what he's having.
Yeah, right?
Welcome to the Old School Rewind Podcast. We're lucky enough to be in the top 5. If you go to iTunes, hit podcast, hit music, we're number 2 today, sitting pretty for the Old School Rewind.
Congratulations. That's fantastic.
I can't get on that new and noteworthy. They need 10,000 a month, but that's how to get on that front page. And right now I'll take the page I'm on because we're at the 22nd episode and we're getting up to 8, 9, 10,000 downloads.
Way to go.
Brilliant.
I love the niche, and you guys are right there at the start of it. This format was a niche format, but before that, in 1979, were you guys the Santana of Portland, John?
No.
Hey, wait a second.
Actually,
in all the pictures, you look like Santana, you guys. I just got to tell you, the number of people, your porn stash, John, you were working it, and it was the times, brother. You guys look like Santana in a picture. Tell me what was actually going on.
Hall & Oates.
She's gone, I better learn how to face it.
No. Tower of Power.
Started to let your hair grow. Spilling things must have come in your wardrobe. Somehow you know there's much more to the trip. What is it? Tell me if you think you know.
We were trying to be Earth, Wind, and Fire. We had a big horn section.
The band seems like it's changed so much. So you were the Tower of Power of Portland. You toured around. What was your favorite place to play back then in 79? Not necessarily the 80s just yet.
Oh, gosh. Well, in 79, I wanted to play Temptations and stuff like that. But it really didn't start going until 1980. When we expanded from 4 people to 12. And then it really started to go.
I think, though, it's hard to answer that question because we actually played clubs for 7 years. And in that time period, there were about 50 different people went through the band. And we went through, some growth, what would you call it?
Some metamorphosis.
Yeah, and had some growing pains during that time period. But one of our favorite time periods was when we were playing Ladies' Night every Wednesday at a club called The Last Hurrah. And the last hurrah was special because it was not a top 40 club. In fact, the Mott brothers who owned the place wanted you to play 80% original music, which is like unheard of. And even today, you know,
especially today.
Yeah. So we would play, 4 hours a night, 4 sets from like 9:30 to 2:30 and 3 breaks. And we did that 2 to 5 nights a week for a long time.
That's called paying your dues, though.
It was a great way to
Get
learn
your chops.
stagecraft.
Right.
And we were working it every night. So we were in good shape.
Yeah, when we got signed, we could really get up and play.
And we had stamina, which was also very important.
When did you guys start being romantic? From the beginning?
No, actually.
It took about a month.
Which in teenage years is a really long time.
Attaboy, John. Attaboy, John.
Yeah, I had given up on finding someone, and so I didn't screw it up, I wasn't trying to be anything. I was pretty casual, so that was good.
Well, it was the 70s, so you didn't date or anything really. I mean, you just hung out, right? There wasn't any dating going on, especially if you were hippie like we were.
Yeah.
So, So I was 15 and John was 19. And we managed to keep it a secret for a year from my dad. So John wouldn't get arrested.
Well, John looked like a damned adult. Back then everybody looked like an adult, even if they weren't an adult, because you guys all had early puberty for some reason. I'm still trying to go through the puberty you had in 79, John, to tell you the truth. That was a hell of a stash you were rocking, Ike.
My son is jealous of the time that we got to grow up in. And he says, "Oh, man, you guys had it so good." And we did. Yeah, Portland was a great place to have a band. Our rent was $90 a month.
Wow.
So you could have a little part-time job and play in a band. It was just really, really, really groovy time.
Very bohemian.
Yeah.
It was a backwater. So the good part of that was that, we were big fish in a small pond after we'd been playing clubs for a bunch of years. And because it was cheap to live in Portland and you got to do a lot of your craft. I mean, we did all kinds of odd jobs during the day for the first bunch of years when we were in the band.
Like what?
We cleaned movie theaters.
Made pizza, tacos.
Worked in restaurants, cafes, coffee shops. John also worked in a parking lot as a parking lot attendant.
That was my last jobby job.
Yeah. You practiced trumpet when he was there.
I was going to ask, did you take an instrument? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people take a book. John took his trumpet.
The ambience in the parking garage is tremendous.
Exactly.
For trumpet, it made me sound better.
Yeah.
What were the songs that carried you along back then in 79? What were you guys listening to? What was the feel in Portland?
That's a good question.
Oh, gosh. There was a really big punk scene here. And in a way, NU SHOOZ was like the anti-punk band. There was nothing punk about us.
Fusion is in style this year. Delusion's vogue and nothing's clear in fashion. From New York City to the coast, the syndromes of indulge in most in fashion magazine.
But there was a huge punk scene here, people playing really official Latin music. So we followed the Latin bands around, and kind of idolized them before we were old enough to get into the clubs. And then we were hanging around with a Latin band called Felicidades. Valerie took up Latin percussion, and I kind of talked my way in as an arranger. So that was the scene in the late 70s. And then we got in the clubs and started doing the Tower of Power, Earth, Wind, and Fire thing. And nobody else was really doing that at that time. Every city has a band like that now.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting question because before I turned 21 is when I joined NU SHOOZ. And so I wasn't old enough to go out and hear music in the clubs. There were a few dance bands that I'd go out and hear, and the ones that I really loved were the ones that did soul music, you know. And there weren't a whole bunch of those. Slow Train was one.
Oh, yeah.
And before that, there was a club called Arbuckle Flat that was for underage kids, you know. And Upeppo and a bunch of bands from that era, and Felicidades played this underage club. And so that's kind of where we hung out.
Yeah, Arbuckle Flat, they would have these music marathons that would last 3 days, 72 hours around the clock. And I think I did a spot at 3 a.m. But the funny thing about it is that we had time. I can't imagine this now. We had time to go hang out for the whole marathon, and you'd fall asleep in the corner and then wake up and hear some guy bang on an acoustic guitar at 4 a.m. So, it was very, very different to be 19, 20 years old.
Yeah, there was this whole club scene that also, I think maybe Pleasure was playing during that time. So there was a whole black music scene in Portland, but it was sort of underground, more underground than some of the punk and new wave and stuff that was happening. It seemed.
Yeah.
And it was harder. It was hard once we got going in the clubs for us to actually go out and hear other bands because we were working all the time.
And that's the last thing you want to do is go out and hear bands,
And like John was saying earlier, Portland radio was pretty white. So, that one show on KBOO with JW Friday was kind of our window into the world that we actually were into listening to.
Yeah, I made one cassette off the radio, and it was magic. We got about 10 songs that we played. And I tried to tape his show after that, and I never got anything like this magic cassette. That it was sort of like the hand of Michelangelo pointing down and saying, "Son, play this."
I love to hear that. You're like, oh, and here it came.
Yeah, well said.
We've all got that one tape. Everybody's got that one tape.
I have it.
Do you have it?
Yeah, I have all of radio tapes because I grew up in San Pedro, California. Port of Los Angeles. And so after I moved to Oregon, I would go down to see my mom and tape the radio down there. My favorite black station was KGFJ, AM station. This was like my elementary school, junior high, and high school education was KGFJ, which was the sound of Black America. And so I would go tape the radio. So I have all these radio tapes from 1980 to 83.
What were some of the songs screaming out of the radio off of KGFJ?
KGFJ, playing more hits all the time. Whoa! KGFJ, getting it on for you at 520-1230, 24 hours a day. KGFJ. KGFJ, where the mornings sound better, with Bobby Elliott on the Morning Extravaganza. KGFJ with BT Express, and do it until you're satisfied. I believe in it. Every measure of pleasure there is. It's 1:31.
Oh my God. Well, I grew up in the Motown era, Lou Rawls, and I'm talking the 60s now.
Never find, as long as you live, someone who loves you tender like I do.
Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, who I particularly love.
So take a good look at my face. You'll see my smile looks out of place. If you look closer, it's easy to trace the tracks of my tears.
And James Brown would put out a new single every week, it seemed like.
Hey! You got to pay back. Revenge.
And so I get off the school bus and grab 69 cents and run down to the black record store and
Buy the latest
45 and run home and play it 90 times.
How did you not end up as radio DJ? Because that's exactly the sound of my life right now. You're running parallel, except I can't play a damned instrument. So
yeah, and I have a face for radio.
me and you both. Imagine that, John.
John was actually going to be a pathologist. That was his trajectory up until one day in the school library when he was in high school, where some kid came along and put some headphones on him and said, "Hey, listen to this." And it was Hendrix. And that was it. That just totally changed his trajectory from pathologist to guitar player.
Yeah. 4 bars of Hendrix ended my medical career.
Probably a lot of people's.
Yeah, I hope so. And I would have been a lousy doctor anyway. I would have.
He kind of faints at the sight of blood, so.
Yeah, and I would have dipped into the candy jar a little bit, I think.
I was just going to ask, did you guys have those influences going on? Did you go through a drug phase?
We're still in one. No,
no, not Viagra, not Viagra and intestinal medicine.
Valerie, not so much.
John? No, I'm a wimp. I have a body that says stop really quickly for anything. Alcohol, it doesn't matter what it is. So that's a saving grace.
Cheap date, huh, John?
Yeah,
exactly.
And we didn't even drink till we started playing the clubs, and then you got one free drink if you were in the band. So,
but I would forget lyrics and stuff. So I'm not going to drink before the last break or something.
But I don't even remember turning 21, and I don't remember you turning 21 because we weren't like, woohoo, now we get to go drink. Right. It wasn't like that, and we didn't like cocaine.
We didn't have money to drink either, and we didn't have money to buy drugs. For the longest time.
Yeah.
Hey, then we got enough money to buy drugs, and
I know that's kind of what it sounded like I was going to say, but
not to say that it was like Bible study group or anything.
Sure.
But we didn't get into that as much as we could help it because it was around. That's for sure. People were always offering you stuff, but we were from the hippie era where the drugs were sweet and smiley and transformational and
whoa, man! Now you're going there.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But shifting to that cocaine era was rough.
Yeah, that was nasty.
Really
period
yucky.
In the clubs, like people died and stuff.
Yeah, people got killed and it was just bad. So glad that period is.
Yeah, people were murdered over it in Portland.
Over. Yeah, not good stuff.
Yeah,
not good stuff. So yeah, we moved on.
Who was singing in the old days before 1982 when Val came along? She was. What are you doing? Percussion, Val, in the band, or?
Yeah, I was never going to be a singer because I had a mom who sang opera and a dad who sang barbershop quartet, and they sang beautifully together. And he was a doctor, she was a professional singer, but she was so good. I just, I wasn't going to, I knew I wanted to be an artist of some kind. It took me a long time to figure out that I didn't probably want to be a dancer because the shelf life is a little shorter than a musician. But when I got into music, I started out as a backup singer and percussionist because I really didn't want to be the lead front person. And we had another person in the lead spot for actually a couple different singers. 3 or 4 different singers went through that. So there was a 4-piece that had a different lead singer. I wasn't in the band yet. Then there was a female lead singer, and then we had a male lead singer.
She lasted about a week.
Yeah, she had terrible stage.
Hey, can I just say, it seems like a lot of people just, when I'm looking at Wikipedia and when I looked on your website and all your videos, it seems like you guys were going through them. How come you went through so many musicians all the time? Go around with 9 people in the band and people go, or were you guys assholes to work for? Or, I mean, what's going on here?
No, you
don't sound like it, John.
There was there got to be Well, I feel like 81 was like this golden era of the band. And then we went out on a tour for 6 weeks. And by the time we got back, like 5 people quit because there was starting to be creative differences. There was half the band liked mid-tempo funk, like there she goes, Phantom of the Footlights. They wanted to play that stuff.
There she goes, Phantom of the Footlights.
Half of the other half wanted to play new wave, you know, dun, 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 dun. And I was caught in the middle. I was trying to keep everybody happy, which never works. And when we came back from this tour, the band split up and we had to put it back together because that's what we did for a living, you know? So it was creative differences. And, you know, it was bound to happen.
And then other things like, you know, people deciding they wanted to do other things in life or join other bands that were more musically suited to them.
Or more fun.
You know, like so there were a lot of different reasons people came in and out of the band, but we had a lot of great people.
And a couple people stayed for like 7 years. You know?
There were some really great musicians that came through our band, and we are beholden to all of them because every single person makes it a different experience, right? You know, I hope nobody else holds grudges against us out there, but we sure are appreciative of all the different people that have been through our band, and especially our band right now. Because we started going out 5 years ago, just John and I doing these shows. I think you saw one of them in Sacramento or something.
Stockton, I saw you. Stockton.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yes.
And it's just John and I when we go out on tour around the country because it's a big show and we only play 2.5 songs and
just the hits, man.
Yeah, just the hits. But that caused us to go, you know, we want a little bit deeper NU SHOOZ experience and deeper, wider. And so we put our band back together about 4 years ago, and there's 9 of us, and they're all our favorite, you know, people that are still around Portland from back in the day, and they all were in the band at different points along the way.
Yeah,
so.
and they get along better than any version of.
Well, we're all older. I think you know, you start to feel like, wow, I get to still do this, you know, and it's a lovely thing to be alive. And so a lot of the stuff that you care about when you're younger kind of falls away.
Yeah, you're not trying to prove yourself, you know. This is like the 7th incarnation of the NU SHOOZ band.
You said it was maybe more fun to go to another place maybe for these people at that time. Is it because you guys were quite focused on getting somewhere, or was it a lack of focus that caused that?
Well, maybe both.
I think it started out with a lack of focus, and then...
It's hard to have fun when you're not making money.
Well,
we were making better money than having a restaurant job.
Just enough to where it didn't make sense to have a restaurant job during the daytime at a certain point in that first 7 years. And I
don't think it was ever about money though. But
it can't be. If you're an artist, you better really, really, really love what you're doing, because if it's about the money, I mean, go into real estate. That's, you know.
Yeah, man.
Stay out of radio.
But, you know, in answer to your question, we lost focus. And then within the core of...
I'll tell you where we would gain focus. That it was Christmas.
Your dad?
Yeah.
Go ahead, tell that story.
Yeah. So, well, now I've forgotten exactly how it started, but I think John was talking about how the band wasn't working or not doing that well. And my dad said something like, well, whoever writes the most songs is the band leader, and will, meaning that's going to be the direction of the band. And John kind of went ding, and he just started writing like crazy.
Yeah, I just wanted to bury the other
influences
in the nicest way possible. I want to say this: I wanted to bury the rock guys and the new wave guys, and bring us back to funk. And after he said, her dad was the the Olympic gold medal mansplainer. He would just say stuff, But this one time he said this thing that really changed the destiny of NU SHOOZ. And once he said that, I went home and sought to bury the other styles that I didn't want in my band. And one of the first batch was I Can't Wait. It was like the second tune of that batch. Like, let's bring us back to funk.
In 82, Val became the lead singer. Cascade recording in the fall of 84. Tell me about the time in the studios. Is this right around the time that we're talking about I Can't Wait?
The first record we made was in 82. It's better left in the cutout bin.
Nothing you could say to me, nothing you could do. Told you, baby, again and again, this time we are through.
Hey, make your mind up. Hey, make your mind up.
But then around 85, we had a new version of the band. Our manager called up and said, well, do you have any songs that you want to record? And I said, well, there's this one, I Can't Wait, that Valerie sounds really real singing it. It sounds like a record when we do it. So, people would say, did you know that was going to be a hit? No, but I knew that it sounded like a record, like right away.
Love, tell me what it's all about. You got so good that I can't live without.
A hit record is a combination of the song, the singer, the performance, what you make in the studio,
The timing.
and the timing in the business.
Right. And a bunch of luck thrown
Right.
in.
Well, yeah, a lot of voodoo. So that was our 5-song EP.
Called That's Right.
Fred Ingram did the art.
He was the drummer in one of the original
I
versions.
told you that we had a lead singer who only lasted a week. Fred was her husband, and he was just an incredible graphic artist, commercial artist, airbrush guy.
It wasn't so easy in those days to do that.
No, there was no Photoshop, but he was one of those airbrush guys that could do chrome and stuff.
Oh,
He did
okay.
the album cover for Can't Turn It Off, which was the one released in 82, and he did That's Right. And
Yeah.
he did a spectacular job. Those two covers hold up still.
Can't Turn It Off. The cover is definitely better than the record. and he named both those records too.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I didn't remember that part.
Now you know.
Yeah, learn something new every day if I could only remember it, as my grandma used to say.
That's the old school rewind. My mom said if you can't remember, it probably was a lie.
That's good. Your mom was smart.
I was lying a lot.
Fake truth.
Fake truth. So I Can't Wait comes out. Tell me the story about how that's released and whether the ground swells then or at a Point of No Return it swells a little bit more. It's surely the jump off. Was it a bigger song than Point of No Return?
Oh yeah.
So there were a couple different versions actually of I Can't Wait, because off that EP there was what people now call the American mix, because we didn't have a record deal yet. This was just a song that was on a cassette, and a local writer wrote a review about it and said, gee, it's too bad that radio stations like Z100 don't play local music, because this is actually a really good EP. And Z100, the Morning Zoo, got a hold of that article, read it over the air one morning and said, hey,
Yikes.
if NU SHOOZ is listening, bring that cassette on down. So our manager at the time, who was also a bartender, I do not know what he was doing up early that morning, but he heard them send this call out, and he jumped on his Vespa and he took the cassette down to the station, and they picked I Can't Wait to Play off of it. And the phones immediately started lighting up. People really liked it. And, that's one of the great things about Portland. It's like they are so for the team here. I think part of the reason that the phones lit up is because it was homegrown music. And the other part of it was that they really did like the song. So we ended up taking that The single, we pressed our own single and took it all over the Pacific Northwest and got played on radio stations everywhere in the Northwest, and even started charting, and then tried to get a record deal, and all of the labels turned us down. I think Warner Brothers, who gave us a demo deal, said we already got Madonna. And then we were kind of like left going, well, now what do we do? You know, we've tried, we've got a story to tell, but nobody's biting. So this DJ subscription record got in touch with us and said, hey, we want to put I Can't Wait on our DJ subscription record that goes out to about 1,000 DJs everywhere.
Sure.
And that record, that was Hot Tracks. Yeah. So Hot Tracks, that record went to Holland, where it was found by Injection Records, and then they asked a Dutch remix guy named Peter Slakhouse to remix it. And he put the on the front, and that record got imported into New York and went crazy in the dance clubs there. So like Paradise Garage and
Palladium,
and that's where Atlantic found it, and that's how we got our singles deal. And then when it just started crossing over into all the other, it was in dance first, and then it went to black radio, and then it went to pop radio, and they gave us an album deal in 1986.
And an incredible start of rhythm radio. You guys are right at the front. You're one of those artists that put hip-hop on the map by coming through the golden age of dance.
Yeah.
People don't understand hip-hop was started with the golden age of dance. That song getting charted at what was then being called rhythm radio, or what they were trying to call rhythmic CHR. It just hadn't happened yet.
Right.
But you guys are the front. I mean, you're right there.
It was very exciting. And it was new. And we loved listening to other people like The System.
Hang the sign up on the door. It says, don't disturb this groove. It's just me and you. Just a way to say that I'm so into you.
Scritti Politti. And Howard Jones. There was this whole technical thing that came out of the machines and different people using the same machines, It was just really, it sounded really fresh. And so it was great to be a part of it.
Is it 808?
I Can't Wait is not.
No.
That was a Lin LM1.
Yeah,
it was like the first commercially available drum machine. They cost a fortune. We had to borrow one. So yeah, but 808 is the sound of freestyle.
For sure. Definitely.
We had to find out what freestyle meant, because now we're in that category a little bit. And so we had to look it up on Wikipedia. And it's 808 based Latin percussion-y sound out of Miami. That's freestyle. And somehow, go figure, we fit in.
Yeah, I guess probably because the record was huge in Miami.
Yeah.
And so we got kind of put in there in that. But that's been kind of a blessing, because, I mean, in the 80s, it was a little bit of a curse, because people the record label did not know how to market us, because we were all over the place as far as the chart action we were getting, and they just didn't know what to do with this hippie band from Portland, Oregon, and we didn't know to that point, we didn't really know how to tell them who we were either. We kind of learned, we didn't know enough about the music business to have that figured out yet. But the good news is that all these years later, we get to do all these shows in different formats, so we get to do the freestyle shows, and we get to do the old school stuff, and we're on these Lost 80s shows with people like bands like Wang Chung, and different,
Flock
and
of
Boy
Seagulls.
George, and we're both grateful, I think,
Yeah.
for that, for the song, for the music that we made to have lasted so long, and to be doing this in so many different venues and with so many different kinds of bands. It's a blast.
Did you guys make money, or did someone jack you up at the front when they brought you in? Because you hear a lot of people get screwed on the monies on this freestyle format, with especially these one-hitters that had no idea, the Connies of the world, the Shannons of the world. Shannon didn't get paid for Let the Music Play. Someone else is still making
she
that
probably
money.
didn't write it.
Well, no, but I mean...
Yeah, so that's the difference. And we were lucky because we owned all the copyrights to our stuff. We didn't own the masters, although I tried to get our high-priced lawyer to do that. That one slipped through the cracks. But we do own the songs, so we did do okay. We did fine.
Are the songs still playing around the world?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The difference between the U.S. and the rest of the world, I think, except for maybe North Korea, is that we... Seriously,
And maybe Yemen.
There's now a performing rights organization that you make some money for the music that's played, but like Dolly Parton wrote what was that big hit that
I Will Always Love You.
Yeah, that Whitney Houston sang, right? Whitney didn't make any money for radio airplay, and that's still true today.
Right.
Internet radio is different, but
Is it?
that's where sound exchange comes in.
I gotcha.
But it's kind of a travesty because the rest of the world pays artists some money when they're played on terrestrial radio.
That's right.
We don't get that as artists here in the United States. They've been trying to change it politically since the 40s. I mean, Sinatra was the one who started saying, wait a minute, it shouldn't just be the songwriters who make money. It should be also the artists themselves who are selling these records. But anyway, so that's still going on, and it's sad because artists like Shannon and all these people who made these songs famous didn't see the kind of money that they should have.
Right. Where did the converted school bus come into play, and what year?
That was 83, 4, and 5. We had the school bus.
How much you pay for it?
The bus was cheap. They practically gave them away. But we, maybe like $250. But we ended up burning up 2 or 3 engines because they're underpowered, They're built to carry these little bags of water called school kids.
Right.
And so...
and we had all of our gear.
We took out the back...
The whole sound system.
The back 6 or 8 rows.
These big cabinet, speaker cabinets.
Giant cabinets and stuff. So
Bass bins.
Yeah. They were called Northwest cabinets, and they were about 6 feet tall and 4 feet wide, and with horns and we had a couple tons of gear. So we had to make a fan belt out of a stocking. Is that right?
Yes, we
out
were.
Of pantyhose.
Oh, come on.
No, seriously. We were thinking we were going to become the Donner Party, the people that had to eat each other.
Yeah, we're going to eat the bass player.
We're taught that in California about the Donners, That's part of our schooling.
We were in Eastern Washington. I think we were on our way up to play in Spokane or Walla Walla, somewhere like that. Anyway, we got stuck in the snow in the nighttime, and our fan belt had broken. So thank God for the people who really, John and I know nothing about the material world and how to fix things.
Yeah, we'd be voted off the island.
Totally. We could entertain you while you were starving to death, but we couldn't help you get food. Anyway, so the guys in the band who do know about car engines and stuff, they go, oh, we got a broken fan belt. Let's see, do you have any pantyhose, Valerie? And I did. And so they made a fan belt out of pantyhose, and we made it to the gig, but they had canceled it because we didn't get there in time.
Yeah, we made it we were supposed to go on at 7, and we got there about 5 minutes to 7, and they had canceled the show.
No,
and we said,
terrible.
man, we could set up in 15 minutes.
Yeah,
we could go.
This is before cell phones, so there wasn't anybody to call to say, hey, we're on our way.
Yeah, so we drove for 6 hours up to northern Washington, had a beer, and turned around and headed back.
With the pantyhose or with the fan belt?
I think the fan belt was a different trip, actually. And there was also another trip where we broke down, and in the middle of the night, one of the band members had to walk out and knock on the door of a farmhouse and say, Have you got any gasket material?
I think they made one out of cardboard or something.
Oh, yeah. They made one out of cardboard.
Yeah.
I can still picture them on the floor of the bus cutting this thing out.
Yeah, actually, I think I'm getting those two trips mixed up. So, yeah, it was the cardboard one that was where we were, in the middle of the night. It seemed like it was winter.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, that was the school bus. And I just loved that era. Yeah, it looks like it was grueling, but it was really a great way to avoid having a real job.
So I Can't Wait is big. Gary Bryant plays that, correct?
Correct. He was the music director for the Z100 Morning Zoo.
Did you know Gary Bryant's in the movie Metro?
No.
With Eddie Murphy? Do you know the movie?
No.
Movie called Metro, and he's a cop, and the opening scene is somebody robbing a bank. And one of the scared people on the floor ducking down is Bryant. I'm in radio, and I've been looking at Hitmakers and R&R and Gavin Report, and all of these influential program directors get a little bit of press or ink in the monthly trade.
Sure.
And Gary Bryant was in it all the time. So I know this guy's face. So just the other night, within the last month, me and my wife, Metro was released on Netflix, and we put it on, and we're sitting there watching, and it's right at the beginning. And if he's on there if he's on there for 5 seconds, it's 5 seconds. And I look and I go, hey, that guy right there is a radio DJ. I know who that is. And we pause, and I go over here to Wiki, and I hit up the Gary, and sure as shit, he's on the Metro movie. He's an extra.
Wow.
Good for him. He's a big mover and shaker.
Yeah, he wasn't music director. That was my bad. He was program director at that time for the station.
He's doing mornings in Los Angeles right now. So
on oldies. Yeah. He's the big oldies guy.
Yeah, he's still going strong. It's great. The thing about the NU SHOOZ story that we realize, the older we get, the more we realize is that it really would not have happened without a bunch of people helping us along the way. From the people in the band to Gary Bryant and C100 and, there are so many improbable moments where the trajectory of the band was changed because people helped us out.
And it could have gone a totally different way and we wouldn't be talking about it.
Right now, yeah.
Touring around playing I Can't Wait. They decide to do Point of No Return. Who decides that, A&R or you guys?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how that
remember.
one went down.
Yeah, I don't remember anymore.
What was it like being out on were you out on the road when that came out, or were you sitting at home?
I think we were out on the road because that was 86.
And we had to fly in from somewhere to make the video.
Into LA.
Yeah, and it was just Valerie and I flew, and the band was still out on the road, and they
it was crazy.
God, no wonder they quit. You guys are leaving them everywhere and not taking them with you. Come on. No,
I know.
I'm just messing with you. Point of No Return comes out. What's that like? Is that different action than I Can't Wait?
Atlantic Records didn't put our picture on the cover because we were white. They were absolutely correct about doing that.
Right.
I think that Point of No Return had a little bit of a harder climb because then The Secret was out. And
you guys are like Kiss. You were masked. You had to cover yourselves. They would unmask, and then they would wear the bandanas out in public. And then that was before the Kiss Unmasked album. Remember, they'd walk around with shrouds on their face, and they'd hang them behind their ears. See, the five of them, they'd all have these.
Oh, funny.
All you saw was their eyes,
They'd have like Desperado masks on.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we didn't really follow Kiss. We just had this one cassette that we taped off the radio. That was pretty much it.
But they didn't want your picture on the front of the single. Were you pissed off?
No, it was brilliant.
We were just glad to have a song on the radio. I mean, after toiling in obscurity for 7 years, pretty much, in those days, the record companies were the gatekeepers. If you made it through that door and somehow were on the other side, it was a miracle. It was really a miracle. And to have a song do that well right off the bat was also a miracle. And it was hard to follow, and because it was so huge.
They could have put Rob Pilatus and Fab Morvan on the cover, and that would have been fine,
You recorded with Jeff Lorber in New York City. Was Facts of Love already out that he did with Karen White?
No, that was later. Lorber was one of the triple scale session guys. He was really in demand. And that was one of the great things that happened to us, too. We made the Poolside record in 6 weeks with Lorber. And that was an education, let me tell you. Because we didn't know what a sequencer was, you know. We couldn't even afford keyboards for a long time in NU SHOOZ. So to go down there and have this guy with this whole system set up. And he had a roadie that would dismantle his entire studio and set it up in one of the big studios in LA, like Larrabee or Ocean Way or Sunset Sound Factory. We got to work in all those legendary studios where the Beach Boys used to record and stuff. And Lorber brought us along. He taught us a lot.
I love the Poolside artwork. Who did that?
We don't really actually know.
No more Fred on that one, huh?
No.
No, I wish that he had been on that because our artwork was really good before we got signed. We had the best posters in Portland.
I was going to ask you about that. I skipped over that at the front of the interview. You guys had some of the best flyers I've ever seen. Who was that? Was that you guys? Are you artistic like that?
I did it for a long time, and then Valerie took it over.
Well, you guys have that alt thing going on. You're really cool. Why don't you live in San Francisco? Why are you guys in Portland?
Too expensive, and now Portland's following suit.
Yeah, Portland's is expensive now.
The flyers are incredible. You can see they're cutting edge, and if you guys did it, that's even more cool because normally it's some other cat that's got that vision. But just your flyers were incredible.
Well, John actually is an amazing visual artist. So one of the things that he's doing now is painting, but he's always been a visual artist as well. So I have a little bit of background in design and calligraphy, and
those old flyers look great.
Yeah, we kind of married all our talents. That's the thing that we always like to tell people who ask us, you know, how to do a life as a musician. All the experiences that you have, all the skills that you have end up helping, no matter what they are, pretty much, you know. If you know something about visual art, that really helps. And especially now when you can make all kinds of stuff yourself. But, you know, we did it the old-fashioned way back then. We cut and pasted these things together and then took them down to Kinko's. And
we had a look and we had a set of aesthetics that I think helped our identity. And then when we got signed, they just ignored all that.
Again, we didn't know how to really tell them what we were about. And there wasn't time also because things happened in such quick succession.
That's true.
I mean, we were just like riding this wave that was ready, you know, any minute we were going to fall off the surfboard.
Yeah. We were running through we were literally running through airports.
It was just wild.
And there's a kind of a good story, I guess. We were going to be on MTV and
that's when MTV played music videos.
Yeah.
Right.
So our bus driver, who was this really cantankerous guy, I'm not a damn cab driver. He dropped us off at the wrong MTV building. He dropped us off at the business office.
Oh, my God.
Instead of their studio.
Oh, no.
He wouldn't drive us to the studio. So it's about 900 degrees in New York City. And we're running through the streets, running across town, pulling our rolly suitcases, 9 or 10 of us, you know, running. And we get to the MTV building and they
didn't cancel you like the bar, did they?
No.
The producer says, "You're late. I don't know if we can even do this." And there was no dressing room. So Valerie's, if I may, in tears, dressing in this room where they store all the tapes. And the producer's tapping her foot impatiently. So they shoved me out there with Martha Quinn, who was my MTV crush, I gotta say. I sit down, phew, you know. I threw my suit on, went out there, and the first question is like, "So what's it like to be on the road with your wife?" And I was just like, that's a stupid question.
It was a bad day.
So that's what it was like, though. It was like running, literally running, running and starving. That's what I remember as being hungry a lot too.
Yeah, there wasn't any place open after we did the shows wherever we were, and we were staying, you know, somewhere, like on a strip of freeway somewhere.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, what an incredible ride.
Yeah,
you
it was
know?
lovely.
I mean, we got to meet Martha Quinn recently at a show that she emceed.
Yeah.
And
I told her the story.
Yeah, you know, and again, it's kind of like going to your 30th high school reunion or something, and all the people are glad to be alive and have dropped a lot of the, you know, that nobody has anything to prove anymore, and it's just sweet. It's much more. The 80s are much more fun the second time around.
Your next album you did at Paisley Park.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. We were there for a couple of months.
We were in Minneapolis. Yeah. Not all the time in Paisley Park, but you know, some of the time.
We spent the whole summer in Minneapolis, and we finished our work there just as winter was coming on. Fall in Minneapolis lasts about a week, and the leaves all turned, the weather changed, and at the end of the week, we no longer had the warm enough clothes to stay there.
Oh my goodness.
So we left, and we ended up finishing that record with Jeff Lorber in LA.
Warmer there.
So many reasons why we should stay apart. My mind tells me one thing. Should I listen to my heart? Should I say yes? Should I say no? Wish I knew you better. Should I say yes? Should I say no?
Tell me about Should I Say Yes?
This actually is one of my favorite songs that we recorded back then.
Me too.
Me too.
It had a thank you. It had a
Wait,
thing.
me three. I'm sorry, me three. Okay.
And by the way, Should I Say Yes is huge in Uganda and Zimbabwe.
To this day.
They still bang it in the clubs there, yeah.
Sadly, it only made it to number 41 on the chart.
But you got played on Rhythm Radio, though, and Rhythm Radio wasn't about the charts like that. They were daring enough to jump out past the 50s and put those on at that time, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that was also remixed by this guy named Mantronix.
Love Mantronix.
I thought he did a stellar job. He really made it thump harder. But yeah, that was a good song, and kind of based on a LL Cool J thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Which one?
I'm not going to say.
I love it.
Oh, another good story about Should I Say Yes was the studio we were in Minneapolis, not Paisley, this place called Metro. They exiled me to the basement for smoking. I was in this place called The Dungeon, which was very dungeon-like. You know, it was that old stone. While I was down in the dungeon working on Should I Say Yes, there was a tornado, and 4 people were killed.
Oh, no!
And I came out of the studio at 3 in the morning. It was like the calm after the storm.
Oh my
I had
God.
totally missed this tornado that raged through Minneapolis and killed people.
Oh my God.
I came out, it was like tweet, tweet, chirp, chirp. and the calm after the storm, you know, because it's the flatlands, so the weather just blows through there. So yeah, that's Should I Say Yes.
What was so good about the chicken noodle soup across the way?
Oh, wow. Where are you getting this stuff?
I got spies following you around. The Monte Carlo across the street from the studio had the best chicken noodle soup around.
They had the best chicken noodle soup in the world, and I hope that place is still there. We actually taped the ambience in there. We dragged a tape machine into the Monte Carlo. They really did. If you're ever in Minneapolis, I recommend the chicken soup. I'm sure it's still good.
I wonder if it's still there.
I bet it's still there. Because it was an institution, you know, it was 100 years old when we were there, and that was 100 years ago. So, yeah.
Don't Let Me Be the One.
Don't let me be the one. Don't let me be the one. Don't let me be the one to break your heart.
We played it too fast. I wish I could go back in time and produce myself, which actually we got to do because we made a record in 2012 called Kung Pao Kitchen, which was demos rejected by Atlantic Records, but we still liked the songs.
Oh, that's cool.
Went in and actually got to produce my younger self. It was really a great experience. It didn't really add much. More it was like took out stuff. It's like, really, kid? Do you really need 4 tambourine parts on this song?
More is more.
Yeah, the 80s, you could just hook up all these machines, and it was a process of weeding out those songs, of elimination. Yeah. So Don't Let Me Be the One. It was like, could have been better. I wish I could go back in time and slow it down.
My love, tell me what it's all about. You've got something that I can't live without. Happiness is so hard to find. Well, hey, baby, tell me what is on your mind. 'Cause I can't wait till you call me on the telephone. Ooh, I can't wait till we're all alone. You know I love you, even when you don't try.
I heard the jazz version of I Can't Wait. Great. Was it well received?
Depends on who was listening to it, I think. I got excited about a group of musicians that I was playing with, and it happened to be the 20th anniversary of I Can't Wait getting on the radio. We were at a party, some kind of fundraiser, and John and I were just doing an acoustic set, and somebody at the end of the night yelled out, "Do I Can't Wait?" And we'd always, been like, we can't do that song without a band. There's like this call and response. You got to have the singers and the horn
chords
players
against the bass line.
and all this stuff. But then we just were like, okay, whatever, we'll do it. So we did this acoustic version of it, and I kind of went, hey, that actually hung together pretty well. What if we went in the studio as an experiment, and we did this over our anniversary weekend, February 14th, I think it was 2005 or 6.
Yeah.
And anyway, put this acoustic version together with all my favorite jazz buddies, and I thought it turned out really cool. So we ended up making a whole record out of it, this particular group, and we called them the NU SHOOZ Orchestra, and we put out Pandora's Box, I think about 4 years later, something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah,
now
we
the
finished it in
timeline,
07,
but
and it didn't come out till 2010.
that's right. Yeah. So
Are you guys the Pat Benatar and Neil Giraldo of dance music?
Oh my God.
nobody's asked us that question before.
No, I think we're the Winston Churchill and Queen Elizabeth II of pop music. I think that would be more appropriate.
John, your voice sounds really young. You sound like you're in your 20s.
He's an eternal youth.
Yeah, doing what you want to do keeps you young.
Both of you.
We're little people.
When I saw you in Stockton, when you guys came out, I went, look, that's like Pat Benatar and her husband right there.
Huh.
Yeah.
It was you shredding the guitar, and you, Val, came out. And why do you guys open? That's what I wanted to know. Why'd you open? How come you're not closer to the end? You just want to get it done and get the hell out of there?
It's just a different kind of show every time we do it. I mean, everybody has a different context within which they're remembering the 80s. So when we're on those freestyle shows, there's some acts that we didn't even know because we weren't a part of that freestyle scene, really. We were kind of before that, more old school and that. And so we hadn't heard of these guys because they weren't on the radio at the same time that we were or on the same charts. But for the freestyle crowd, those acts are really huge. All of them have paid their dues, and all of them deserve to have a career still. So, we just are glad to be on the show. And if we open, that's okay too, I mean,
One of the promoters said that he said, don't look at it like you're being demoted. You're just such a strong opener. And I have to agree with that.
It was true.
Yeah, we could have been the headliner, but opening the show, I wouldn't want to headline without our band anyway.
Yeah.
One of the things I was going to ask you until I started looking around and figured out you had 18 versions of the band and a band that I thought maybe you guys sung over a recorded track. You didn't do that at all. You're just now starting to do that type of stuff.
That's right.
Right.
We did do a little bit of that back in the day when I would go to New York and do track dates at the Palladium and Roseland and those kind of places. But we still had, the band was the thing, and we did those gigs when we were back in New York working on the record and that kind of thing, and then sent money back to the band to keep it going, and mostly played with them. But it's just. It's hard to take them on the road now because we are only playing 2.5 songs and 9 people, 10 people, airfare, rooms, all of that.
No,
it
that doesn't work. Yeah, no,
it doesn't work. It doesn't work. But we still love playing with them, and we in fact decided after we'd been doing this for about 2 years. And put the band back together that we needed to kind of document the moment by making another record. We have a home studio. We have all these awesome players. And so that's when we decided to put out a record. And John wrote all the songs in 2008.
October 2014.
Thank you. October 2014, it turned into Bagtown, which we released in 2016.
Yeah.
All new music with our current band. It's super funky.
Where do people find a copy for download on that?
They can find it on our website. They can find it on iTunes, Amazon, Bandcamp.
The usual suspects.
Yeah. Anywhere they listen to music and want to find it.
God, you go and say 2008. That seems so far ago. Then you go back to 1988. You go, holy shit, what have we been doing all these years?
I know. How did this happen? How did we get here?
By.
It so does.
Boy, it does. Flew right by. Who did you like to tour with back in the day?
I like touring with Billy Ocean.
We toured with the Jets.
Who's fun to tour with now? Not back in the day. Now who are you having fun touring with?
We love Lisa.
Expose, Animotion,
Wang Chung, Cutting Crew. They're phenomenal.
They are really amazing. We've just made so many friends. And actually, we've had more interactions with 80s artists in this time period than we did back then.
Absolutely.
Because we are on the shows with like 10 or 12 different acts. All these people, they're good people. It's been fun.
And we're fans, It's like, oh my God, Lisa's opening the door for me.
Yeah, right? Or we're in the van with Howard Jones or whatever it is. It's like,
boy, he was good. I need to get Howard Jones. He was so good when I was in high school. He was a high school act for me. 86 is my graduating year. So 82 to 86, I'm in the jugular of Michael Jackson, Steve Miller Band, whoever else that was playing the early MTV stuff. That's my high school. I'm lucky enough to be right there. Some people say that's the shitty part of music. I like that part. That was a good part of music for me.
Oh my God. It was. It was a glorious time to be doing it and learning about it. And I think Howard Jones fits in with the Scritti Politti system, kind of, just because his programming was so techno for that time.
That was the front of dance, and people don't give that respect. They don't understand it did transition from a new wave, white type of thing. It was Latino focused, but these were white folks getting on the dance chart, releasing pop songs, but then having dance singles come from them. I'm not even sure that's
all of
what
us,
they wanted to
whether
do.
you're white or black, were listening to the early seeds of techno. We all heard those records with 808 on them, and records like Grandmaster Flash, The Message. That all of us were listening to that stuff, and so it popped out in different ways.
Where do people find you at socials? What's going on today? What do you want to promote right now with NU SHOOZ?
Well, we're going to be playing a lot of shows this year, and so people can find out where we're going to be if they go to our website, www.nushoozmusic.com.
NUSHOOZ.
MUSIC. And
MUSIC. I see NU SHOOZ on the rewind.
Very good.
Are you active on your socials?
Pardon me?
You active on the socials?
Oh, very. That's one of my other favorite things about this time period is that we actually can interact with fans in a way that we couldn't back in the day. And so we're on all the usual Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Yeah, if you want to hear some of the new music, the old music, it's all on our website. That's about it that's going on right this second.
Along with a lot of porn stash pictures of John.
Yep. Well, I was just trying to balance out my nose.
Nice.
The counterweight to it.
Oh my God.
You guys are funny. I appreciate you being on the Old School Rewind. Thanks for taking some time to tell me about the mid-'80s and how NU SHOOZ is one of the creators of the dance format. Thank you for your contribution.
Well, thank you for having us on the show.
Delightful talking to you.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your iTunes placing.
Thanks for keeping the music alive.
That's Val and John on the other side of the microphone. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thanks
Peace out.
again.
You've been listening to the Old School Rewind with Randy Bubba Black. Share and subscribe now at oldschoolrewind.com.